Welcome to the channel. Please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you get notified of new videos. Let's analyze this Cloud CDN signed URLs question. We have a global application using a load balancer with CDN enabled. The company wants to serve private content using signed URLs. The question asks which statement is not true about signed URLs in Cloud CDN. This is a negative question, meaning we need to find the false statement among the options. Signed URLs are a critical security feature in CDN that allow you to control access to content by requiring a cryptographic signature. Let's examine each option carefully. What are signed URLs? Before diving into the options, let's understand signed URLs. They're time-limited, cryptographically signed URLs that grant temporary access to private content. When you use signed URLs, you're essentially creating a URL that includes authentication information. This URL can only be used for a specific time period and can include restrictions like IP addresses. In Cloud CDN, signed URLs work with your backend storage, like cloud storage, to ensure that only authorized users can access protected content. The CDN validates the signature before serving cached content. This is commonly used for premium content, confidential documents, or any resources that should have controlled access. Option A discusses the cloud storage backend. Option A states that if you're using cloud storage as a backend, you must make sure to remove public access. This statement is absolutely true and critical for security. When you're using signed URLs, the entire point is to control access to private content. If your cloud storage bucket is publicly accessible, anyone can bypass your signed URLs by accessing the storage directly. The best practice is to ensure your cloud storage bucket has uniform bucket level access enabled and all public access is removed. The CDN uses service account credentials to fetch content from the private bucket. This creates a secure chain, flowing from the user, to the signed URL, to the CDN, and then to private storage. Options B and C. Now we have two contradictory statements about caching. Option B says signed and unsigned requests are cached separately, while option C says they are cached together. This is the key to our answer. In Cloud CDN, signed and unsigned requests to the same resource are indeed cached separately. They use different cache keys. This is because the signature parameters become part of the cache key. A signed URL like /image.jpg signature equals ABC123 is treated as a different resource than the unsigned /image.jpg. This means option B is true and option C is false. We have found our answer. Option D. Origin validation. Option D states, signed requests must always be validated at the origin before serving the response. Let's think about this carefully. This statement is false for cached content. Once the Cloud CDN has validated a signed URL and cached the response, subsequent requests with valid signatures are served directly from the cache without going back to the origin. However, the CDN does validate the signature parameters, like expiration and IP restrictions, on every request. It just doesn't need to contact the origin if the content is already cached and the signature is valid. This is one of the key benefits of a CDN, reducing origin load by serving from the cache. Let me explain how Cloud CDN validates signed URLs. When a signed URL request comes in, Cloud CDN first checks the signature's validity, including its expiration time and any IP restrictions. If the signature is valid and the content is in the cache, it is served immediately without contacting the origin. If it is not in the cache, the CDN forwards the request to the origin, caches the response, and serves it. The origin does not need to revalidate the signature, as Cloud CDN handles all signature validation. The origin just needs to serve the content when requested by the CDN. This architecture provides both security and performance benefits. When implementing signed URLs with Cloud CDN, there are several best practices to follow. First, Always use HTTPS to prevent signature tampering in transit. Second, set appropriate expiration times. You don't want them to be too long, which is a security risk, but not so short that it creates a poor user experience. Common durations are between 1 and 24 hours, depending on the content's sensitivity. Third, consider using IP restrictions for highly sensitive content, but be aware this can cause issues with mobile users whose IPs change. Finally, monitor your cache hit rates. Low hit rates might indicate that your signatures are too unique or that your expiration times are too short. One common mistake is leaving cloud storage buckets public while using signed URLs. This completely defeats the security purpose. Another pitfall is setting expiration times too short, causing unnecessary origin load and poor performance. Remember, cached content can be served as long as the signature is valid. Some developers also mistakenly believe the origin must validate every signed request. This isn't true, as Cloud CDN handles all validation, and the origin just serves content when requested. Understanding these nuances is crucial for both the exam and real-world implementations. Signed URLs provide security through obscurity and time limits, but they're not foolproof. Anyone with the URL can access the content until it expires. For highly sensitive content, combine signed URLs with other security measures, IP restrictions, user authentication, and audit logging. Remember that signed URLs can be shared, so don't rely on them alone for critical security. They're best for controlling access to premium content or temporary file sharing. Also, rotate your signing keys regularly and monitor for unusual access patterns that might indicate URL sharing. The final answer and the key takeaways. The correct answer is option C. The statement that responses to signed and unsigned requests are cached together is false. Cloud CDN caches signed and unsigned requests separately, because the signature parameters are part of the cache key. This ensures proper access control while maintaining cache efficiency. Remember these key points. Always secure your backend storage. Understand that signed and unsigned requests are cached separately, and know that the CDN validates signatures without always needing to contact the origin. For the exam, focus on understanding how Cloud CDN handles signed URLs differently from regular URLs, especially regarding caching behavior. Thank you for your attendance. Please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it.